You're done here, Olivia. Pack what you can and get out.
Now.
Blood thundered in my ears. My hands trembled. My eyes watered from the stench rising from the trash can. My mother-in-law's voice cut through the morning air like jagged glass. It sliced through my chest, making my legs buckle. There I was, digging through rotting banana peels, spilled juice, and coffee grounds, until I finally yanked out my $3,000 Chanel bag, slick with dark, oily stains. My wedding pearls, the ones my grandmother gave me, were tangled around moldy orange peels and coated in garbage juice so foul it made my stomach lurch. Martha's eyes sparkled with triumph. She was completely unaware that in 30 minutes, every lie she had built her perfect life on would come crashing down. I was holding the detonator. 30 minutes from now, her empire would be obliterated. I could almost hear the clock ticking. But first, let me tell you how I got here. I am Olivia Wilson. 18 months ago, I married into what I thought was the perfect family. Martha Wilson ruled her massive colonial house like a queen. 3 generations of wealth. Sunlight catching dust like tiny gold flecks floating through museum-quality rooms. Tears in her eyes the day we moved in. She called me the daughter she never had. Martha was graceful, poised, and yet commanded fear at every turn. Caleb and I moved in to help with what she called her medical issues. Everyone in town thought the Wilsons were royalty. That's the lie Caleb whispered to me every night. But here's the insane part. Caleb wasn't even home when this happened. He was on a business trip to Denver, probably nursing a scotch at some hotel bar, completely clueless that his mother had just declared World War III on his wife. And what I'm about to tell you, it will make you question everything about family, loyalty, betrayal, every moment, every smile, every secret, about to explode like a nuclear bomb. This wasn't random rage. This wasn't a moment of fury. Every single item had been carefully, methodically destroyed before being thrown away. Like I was nothing. My cashmere sweater? Ruined with pickle juice and bleach. The smell alone made me gag. You always thought you were better than us. Martha spat. Her face twisted with years of buried resentment. With your fancy job and your college degree and your designer clothes. Her voice got lower, more venomous. Well, look at you now, digging through garbage like the trash you really are. Standing beside her like a loyal attack dog.
Christy.
Martha's daughter. My husband's sister. Arms crossed. Smirk perfected over decades. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Christy and I grew up on the same street. Same schools. Same teachers. Same hallways. She'd always hated that I got the guy she wanted. And this last time, it was her own brother.
Yes, you heard that right.
Then I found it. My laptop bag. Torn open like someone had taken a knife to it with surgical precision. Leather sliced. Zippers destroyed. Contents scattered like confetti. The computer?
Gone.
Completely vanished. And suddenly, it clicked. This wasn't just about throwing me out. This was about making sure I could never return. But they had no idea what was coming next. Where's my laptop, Martha? My voice steadier than I felt, though my hands were shaking with pure rage. She shrugged. Casual indifference. Like swatting a fly. Christy couldn't hide her grin. That sick, twisted smile revealing everything I needed to know. Oops, she said. Dripping fake innocence. Butterfingers.
Right then.
Staring at these 2 women. Something deep inside me snapped. Not in the way they expected. Not in the way they wanted. The morning had begun so differently. I'd been in the kitchen making coffee. My favorite mug, the one with tiny painted flowers. Kayla bought it on our honeymoon, humming along to a radio love song, the one that reminded me of our wedding dance. Then Martha appeared, like a ghost in her bathrobe, gray hair wild, uncombed, as if she'd been tossing and turning all night, planning something truly evil. Her eyes had that look, the one I'd learned to fear over 18 months, awake in the dark, plotting. I want you out, she said. No good morning. No warning. 5 words. Cold. Precise. Final. Shattering my world like glass hitting concrete. Martha, what are you talking about? Caleb isn't even. I don't care where Caleb is. This is my house, and I want you gone. 3 weeks earlier, while straightening Caleb's home office, I found something. Something that changed everything. Tucked between his expensive leather-bound journals was a folded piece of paper. Not another woman's phone number. Not a receipt. A bank statement. From an account I didn't even know existed. An account with over $2.3 million. My hands shook as I unfolded it. Numbers swimming like a foreign language. Money Caleb had hidden from me. For months. Maybe longer. But wait. What I found next will blow your mind. I opened the folder on his laptop. Labeled Vintage Cars Sale. Grandfather's Collection. Spreadsheet after spreadsheet. Every buyer. Every date. Every dollar. And then it hit me. The grief. The tears.
The trust.
It had all been a lie. Every dollar came from selling his grandfather's vintage car collection. Cars he claimed were stolen. Cars I'd comforted him over. Held his hand through. Helped file legitimate insurance claims for. Here's the kicker. Most of those cars never existed. Not one. He had fabricated the entire collection. Sold imaginary cars. Pocketed every dollar. Smiling at me. Lying through perfect, white teeth. My husband, the man I promised to love and honor, was a fraud. And his family? They were covering it up. Every tear. Every comforting hand. Every, we'll get through this together, promise. I had been played like a fool. But not anymore. When Martha threw me out that morning with vicious cruelty, she unknowingly did me the greatest favor. It gave me the perfect reason to vanish. Before Caleb returned. Before he discovered I already knew his darkest secret. By the garbage can, I felt their eyes boring into me. Like laser beams. Every second stretched. Heavy. Suffocating air thick with the sharp tang of rotting banana peels. I smiled. Not happy. Not sad.
Cold. Calculating.
The kind of smile that would freeze them if they understood it. With steady hands, I pulled out my phone. Metal slick with sweat. Flies buzzed. Slicing through tense silence every ruined dress. Every destroyed piece of jewelry. The laptop bag with its slashed zipper. Click after click. I documented it all. Their smug satisfaction curdled into confusion. Stop. What are you doing? Christie's voice cracked. Disbelief and anger tangled together. Insurance, I said. Calm as glass. Martha's face went pale. Comprehension hitting like a freight train. I wasn't just taking pictures. I was building proof. A record of destruction to bring their world crashing down. Then came the move that would haunt them forever. I only took what I could irrefutably claim as mine. My grandmother's pearls, gripped tight in my trembling hand. A few childhood photos. The rest? Left in the garbage. Just as they had discarded it. Every click of the camera echoed through silence. Each snapshot a tiny rebellion. But as I snapped the final shot, a glint in the corner of my eye froze me. In that instant, I realized something terrifying. This was only the beginning. That evening, while Martha and Christy were probably clinking glasses, celebrating their victory, with cruel laughter echoing through the mansion's halls, I was sitting alone in a cold, fluorescent-lit police station. The hum of overhead lights buzzed in my ears. The smell of disinfectant mingled with something else. The metallic scent of fear. Or maybe that was just mine, not for the destroyed clothes, though that was part of it. This was for the missing laptop. Because that laptop wasn't just a device. It was a ticking time bomb of truth. And Caleb had no idea I had copies. Detective Rodriguez appeared from the shadows of her desk. A seasoned woman, probably late 40s. Gray streaks in her hair. Eyes that had seen more human deception than most people encounter in a lifetime. Her kind but weary gaze made me feel a flicker of hope. As I began recounting the story, I watched her lean forward. Pen scratching furiously across the notepad. And then she asked the question. The exact question I'd been holding my breath for. Mrs. Wilson, do you have any idea why they might have specifically targeted your computer? My pulse was a drumbeat in my ears. But my hand was steady. I reached into my purse. Pulled out a small flash drive. The weight of it felt heavier than gold. "Because of what's on here," I said. Voice calm, measured, almost eerily so her eyebrows shot up. Silent signal of disbelief. I slid the drive across the desk. Financial records, bank statements, insurance claims, everything. The air in the room seemed to still. I had no idea, no clue, that in that very moment, I was about to ignite the biggest FBI investigation this county had ever seen.
Not just simple theft.
Not just family feud. This was about to become a cataclysm. And as Detective Rodriguez's eyes narrowed and her fingers moved faster across the keyboard, I realized something. The wheels of justice were starting to turn. And when they did, they were going to crush everything in their path. Every lie, every betrayal, every carefully constructed illusion. Martha and Christy thought they'd won. They had no idea they were about to be obliterated. The next morning, I woke up in my hotel room to my phone buzzing. Patricia, my lawyer, was practically screaming through the speaker. "Olivia, you need to turn on the news right now. Channel 7. Do it now." My fingers fumbled with the remote. Flipped to the local news station. And there he was, my husband Caleb, walking out of Denver Airport. In handcuffs. His expensive suit wrinkled. His perfect hair disheveled. The reporter's voice cut through my shock. "Arrested this morning in connection with a multi-state insurance fraud investigation. Federal agents say the vintage car scam may be just the tip of the iceberg." My phone started ringing immediately. First Patricia. Then Detective Rodriguez. Then numbers I didn't recognize. But I didn't answer any of them. I was too busy watching the second news story. Also arrested this morning was Martha Wilson, 64, of Millfield, in connection with destroying evidence in a federal fraud case. The screen showed Martha being led away from her house, in handcuffs, her gray hair wild, her face pale with terror. Turns out, my laptop disappearing right before the FBI investigation went public looked pretty damn suspicious to federal investigators. Day 3 after my garbage can eviction, I got a call. The caller ID said Christy Wilson. She was crying. No, sobbing. Into the phone like her world was ending. "Olivia, please, please, you have to help us." Her voice broke with every word. "They released Mom this morning. Lack of evidence," they said. "But she's falling apart. The news vans are still outside the house like vultures."
She paused.
Gulping air. "Please, I know we were horrible to you, but we're family."
Her voice got desperate.
Pathetic. "We're family." Family? The word made me want to throw up. But what happened next? Nobody saw it coming, especially not me. An hour after Christy's desperate phone call, there was a knock at my hotel room door. I looked through the peephole. 2 people I'd never seen before. A man in an expensive dark suit. A woman with kind eyes and prematurely graying hair. "Mrs. Wilson? I'm Agent Chen from the Federal Fraud Division, and this is Detective Williams." My stomach dropped. "We were hoping we could have a word with you about your husband's activities." They sat across from me in the hotel's tiny chairs. Agent Chen slid a thick manila folder across the coffee table. Inside were photographs, bank accounts I'd never seen, property deeds with names I didn't recognize. "What is this?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. "It's everything your husband and his family have been hiding from you, Mrs. Wilson." Detective Williams' voice was gentle, but her words hit like physical blows. The car fraud was small time compared to the rest of it. She leaned forward, eyes intense. "They've been running a massive real estate scam for 5 years, buying properties with fraudulent loans, then flipping them and disappearing with the money." My vision started to blur around the edges. "How much money are we talking about?" The pause felt like an eternity. Agent Chen looked at his partner before answering. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. $3.7 million. I sat down hard on the hotel bed, my legs giving out completely. $3 million? And Mrs. Wilson, that's just what we've found so far. The room started spinning. The good news is, your quick thinking in documenting the evidence and reporting the laptop theft actually saved you. Detective Williams leaned forward. her eyes intense. It proves you were investigating him, not helping him. Your lawyers already filed for emergency divorce proceedings.
She paused.
We're recommending you be treated as a victim rather than a co-conspirator. I felt a moment of relief. But then Agent Chen spoke again. But there's something else. Something we need your help with. The room seemed to close in around me as they explained what they suspected. Martha and Christy weren't just innocent family members caught up in Caleb's crimes. They thought the whole family was in on it. And they needed someone on the inside to help them prove it. Someone who could get close enough to record a confession.
Me.
We know this is asking a lot, Agent Chen continued. But we need you to go back to that house. Absolutely not. The words exploded out of me, like I'd been shot. Are you people completely insane? You want me to go back to the people who threw me out like garbage and spy on them? My voice got higher, more panicked. Have you lost your minds? Mrs. Wilson, listen to me very carefully. Detective Williams' voice was deadly serious now. They're desperate right now. They'll say things, admit things, try to get you to help them hide assets. She pulled out a small black device. If you wore a wire, no way in hell. I was on my feet, pacing the tiny hotel room like a caged animal. You want me to betray my own family? They're not your family, Agent Chen said quietly. His words hit like a slap. They made that choice for you when they destroyed your belongings and threw you out. When they tried to frame you for crimes you didn't commit. Detective Williams pulled out another folder. Mrs. Wilson, if we can't prove they knew about the real estate scam, they walk away from this. Her voice got harder. Martha made bail this morning. The judge said there wasn't enough evidence to hold her on the laptop destruction charge alone. She and Christy are probably destroying more evidence right now. She leaned forward. And you're left holding the bag for $3.7 million in fraudulent debt that could destroy your life forever. The room went dead silent. But there's a window. 24 hours before they lawyer up completely and stop talking to anyone. Agent Chen's voice was urgent now. If you can get them to confess on record. 2 hours later, I was driving back to the house, wearing a wire that felt like it was burning against my skin. In my passenger seat was a briefcase, full of fake documents that Agent Chen assured me would make Martha and Christy think they could still save themselves. The FBI van was parked 3 blocks away. I had a panic button in my pocket, backup agents positioned around the property. But as I pulled into that familiar driveway, wearing a wire that could send them all to prison for decades, my hands were still shaking like leaves in a hurricane. Martha answered the door before I could even knock. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying, her hair unwashed and stringy. She looked like she'd aged 10 years in the past week. Olivia. Oh. Thank God you came back. Thank God. She threw her arms around me. I had to fight every instinct not to push her away. Over her shoulder, I could see Christy hovering in the hallway, like a nervous ghost. Her face a mixture of suspicion and desperate hope. I got your messages, I said carefully, my voice steady despite the wire pressed against my ribs. All 89 of them. I was so worried, Martha said, leading me into the living room, the same room where she'd confronted me 6 days earlier. But now the expensive furniture looked different somehow. Cheaper. Like props in a play I'd never realized I was watching. The FBI agents, they've been here 3 times since they let me out on bail, asking all these terrible questions about you, about your laptop, about what we knew. Her hands were shaking as she spoke. Olivia, honey, I think they suspect us of something horrible that we never did. What kind of questions? Martha's hands were trembling as she poured tea. Actual tea. In the good china she'd never bothered to use when I lived there. They want to know about Caleb's business deals. About properties we've never heard of. About money transfers. Her voice got smaller. Olivia, I swear I don't understand any of that financial stuff. Caleb always handled everything. Christy came in carrying a tray, her movements nervous and jerky. Olivia, we're so glad you're here. We need your help desperately. My help. You're smart about business things, Martha said, reaching for my hand with fingers that felt like ice. You could explain to the FBI that we don't know anything about Caleb's work.
She squeezed my hand.
That we're just innocent family members who got caught up in this nightmare. I set down my teacup, opened the briefcase. The fake documents were spread across her expensive coffee table like tarot cards predicting doom. Bank statements, property transfers, loan applications, all designed to look like evidence that Martha and Christy were deeper in the scam than they really were. Actually, Martha, I think you know more than you're admitting. Her face went white as fresh snow. What do you mean? I mean these documents that show you co-signed for 12 different properties over the past 3 years. My finger traced across the fake papers. Documents that show Christie's name on business and corporation papers. I looked up at them. Documents that show both of you receiving monthly payments from Caleb's shell companies. The silence was deafening. Martha sank onto the couch, her head in her hands, sobbing like her heart was breaking. Oh, God, what have we done? What have we done? The wire pressed against my chest felt hot, almost burning. Every word they'd spoken was being recorded, transmitted to the FBI van 3 blocks away. They confessed to document fraud, money laundering, obstruction of justice, all while begging me to help them cover it up. I should have felt triumphant, vindicated. These people had destroyed my belongings, thrown me out of their home like garbage, tried to frame me for their crimes. They deserved whatever was coming to them. But looking at Martha, sobbing into her hands, and at Christy, staring at those fake documents like they held her death sentence, I felt something I didn't expect.
Pity.
Olivia, Martha looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. Her makeup smeared, eyes red.
Please.
I know we treated you horribly. I know we don't deserve your help or your forgiveness. Her voice was breaking with every word. But you're the only family we have left. You're the only one who can save us. Family. There was that word again, twisted and poisoned by their desperation. I'm not your family, Martha. My voice was calm,
steady.
You made that crystal clear 6 days ago when you threw my belongings in the garbage and told me I was nothing. I was wrong. I was scared and angry and wrong about everything. Her voice was breaking with every word. You are family. You've always been family. Please don't abandon us now when we need you most. I stood up, started putting the fake documents back in the briefcase. The wire under my clothes felt like it was burning my skin, but I kept my expression neutral. Olivia, where are you going? I'm leaving. Again. But what are you going to tell the FBI? I paused at the door, looked back at them one last time. 2 women who'd spent 6 days learning what it felt like to lose everything. The same lesson they'd try to teach me in the cruelest way possible. I'm going to tell them the truth, Martha. My voice was quiet, final, just like I've been doing all along. As I walked out that door, I could hear Martha's sobs echoing behind me, but I didn't look back. The FBI agents were waiting in the van 3 blocks away, their faces grim as they listened through their headphones. They'd heard every word, recorded every confession. Martha and Christy Wilson had just handed them everything they needed to prosecute the entire family conspiracy. Outstanding work, Mrs. Wilson, Agent Chin said as I climbed into the van, my hands still shaking from adrenaline. That was exactly what we needed to close this case. What happens now? Now they get arrested. All of them. The whole conspiracy comes crashing down. That evening, I watched the news from my hotel room as Martha and Christy were led away in handcuffs. The reporter stood outside the house I thought was my home for 18 months. Federal agents have arrested Martha Wilson and her daughter Christy in connection with a multi-million-dollar real estate fraud scheme. 6 months later, I was living in Portland, working as a financial consultant for small businesses. The FBI gave me a $300,000 reward for helping recover stolen assets. Blood money, maybe. But it was enough to start over completely. Sometimes people ask me if I regret helping the FBI bring down my own family. Here's what I tell them. They weren't my family. They made that decision for me on a Tuesday morning when they threw my belongings in the garbage and told me I was nothing to them. But here's the thing that still surprises me every single day. I'm not angry anymore. I'm grateful. Because if Martha Wilson hadn't been so cruel, so vindictive, so completely evil in that moment, I might never have found the courage to leave. The FBI agents burst through the front door 30 seconds after I walked out. Martha and Christy Wilson were arrested and charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, money laundering, and obstruction of justice. 6 months later, I testified at their trial. Martha got 12 years in federal prison. Christy got 8 years. Caleb got 25 years.
And me?
I got something I never expected when I was digging through that garbage can, humiliated and broken. I got my life back. Today, I run a nonprofit that helps fraud victims navigate the legal system. We've recovered over $12 million in stolen assets for families who thought they'd lost everything. Martha was wrong about me that morning. I wasn't trash to be thrown away. I was evidence. Evidence that good people don't stay down when evil tries to destroy them. Sometimes the best revenge isn't making your enemies suffer. Sometimes it's proving them so completely wrong about who you are that their cruelty becomes irrelevant. I don't think about the Wilson family anymore. I don't wonder what they're doing in prison. I don't check up on their appeals or parole hearings. Because the woman who dug through that garbage can 18 months ago, she died that morning. And the woman who rose from those ashes? She's too busy building something beautiful to waste time looking back at the ruins. That's how you really win. You don't just survive. You become someone your enemies could never destroy, even if they tried again. And trust me, they'll never get the chance. If you love watching betrayal backfire and seeing the guilty get destroyed in the most unexpected ways, subscribe right now. Because the next story drops soon, and if you miss it, you'll regret it forever.